saloon girl sat polishing a bent spoon. Said, "My papa ate his last meal with this here." The spoon made a dry, scraping sound, metal on metal. Again, again, like she was waiting for it to speak. Willa's thumb dragged hard along the bent neck of it. Her jaw was tight. Her eyes were hollow. Not dead, just far. She sat at the corner table under the oil lamp with the cracked glass. Her red dress had a tear at the seam near her hip. She hadn't sewn it back. She didn't care who saw. "Play something, Roy." A man whispered toward the piano. Roy didn't move. His fingers hovered above the keys. He watched her hand move in small, rough circles, polishing that spoon like she was cleaning blood off it. The air in the saloon shifted. No one laughed. The drinkers just sat quieter. Then the doors creaked open, boots across wood. Not fast, not loud, but they scraped. Sheriff Ellison stood in the frame, long coat, dust on the cuffs, hat still on. Willa didn't look up. The sheriff looked around. Everyone looked away. She said, "You remember this?" He didn't answer. She set the spoon down flat on the table. Still didn't look at him. Her voice was steady. "My papa ate his last meal with this here. They gave it to him in the jailhouse. Night 'fore you said he hung himself. You been drinking?" She picked the spoon back up. "No." He stepped closer. "You causing noise?" "No." He took another step. "Then what's this?" Willa held the spoon up to the light. The bend caught a flicker of the flame. "This ain't bent from no fall." The sheriff stayed still. "I know how it got like this," she said. "How?" "From his teeth. He bit it when the pain came." He exhaled once. Slow. "Willa, wasn't any rope burned on his neck? I saw him. Mama saw him." "Your mama? She's on the ground. I'm still here." The sheriff's mouth twitched. "You looking for something?" She turned the spoon in her fingers. "I want the name of whoever gave him that plate." "I told you back then. You said he stole it." "He did." She looked up now. Her eyes were sharp. "Jailhouse tray. Ain't no tray to steal from." He didn't speak. She stood up, slow. The spoon hung from her fingers. "You want to take me in, Sheriff?" "Not yet." "You sure?" "Not yet," he repeated. She walked to the bar. "Slide the spoon down the wood grain until it stops at a crack." "Willa, he didn't kill himself. That's what you're scared I'll prove, ain't it?" He sighed. "You need to go home." "I ain't got one." The room went still again. A man coughed. Another sipped from his glass, trying not to look. She turned back around. "You remember that cellar under the jail? The one you said was flooded?" The sheriff shifted. "I went down there last night. Ain't no water, just old dirt, and one empty. Tray, spoon just like this, not bent." He opened his mouth. She cut in. "One more thing scratched on the wall. Not food, not friend." The sheriff didn't blink. "Ring any bell, Sheriff?" He stared at the bent spoon like it was a riddle he'd already answered wrong. "You think someone poisoned him?" he said quietly. "I know it." He looked at her now, really looked. The bruising under her eyes, the tremor in her hand, barely noticeable unless you were watching. "Why now?" he asked. She leaned in. "Because I found the letters he wrote to me. They were hidden in the floorboards. Mama never burned them like she said. And the last one said, 'If they bring you this spoon, don't eat.'" "Hell." "Yeah," she whispered. He took a step back. "You're stirring ghosts." "I ain't scared of ghosts. I slept beside one my whole childhood." His hand hovered near his belt, not on his gun, just resting near it. "Like an old habit." "Name," she said again. "Who brought him that food?" "I don't recall." "Then recall harder." He said nothing. "I'm staying," she added. "Right here, in this chair, every night till someone talks, or that jail burns down. You burn the jail, I'll arrest you. You already arrested the wrong man once. Or did you forget?" His lip curled, not quite a smile. "Wasn't my hand served it," he said. "Was it your voice that told him to?" He looked down. "You told me he was drunk," she said. "You told me he hit Mama." "He did." "You told me I was better off without him." "You are." "He carved my birthday into the spoon." The sheriff's eyes shifted. She held it out. There it was, scratched into the curve. Her hand trembled now, but she didn't hide it. "He bent it trying to fight the pain," she said again, quieter now. He exhaled. "You don't let go, do you?" "Nope." The sheriff looked toward the door, then toward the bar, then at her again. "If I told you who brought the plate," he said, "what would you do?" "Depends what name you say." "You wouldn't kill him. Not with poison." "You'd make him talk." "I'd make him dig." "Dig what?" "Something heavy." He laughed once low. "You got your daddy's streak." She blinked. "I ain't got no one's streak. I'm my own." He nodded slowly. Then he walked to the bar, laid 2 coins down. I took a glass. I didn't drink it, just stood beside it. "You staying here tonight?" he asked. "The chair's warm." "Are you armed?" "I got a spoon." That got a laugh from someone at the back. The sheriff nodded once. "Good night, Willa." She didn't answer. He left. Roy at the piano started to play again. Software, uneven. She sat back down, hold the spoon flat in her hand. Whispers moved like wind between tables. She didn't look at any of 'em. She whispered to the metal, "Bend for me one more time." And it did. The spoon was back on the table. The oil lamp above it swayed a little, casting a crooked shadow. Sheriff Ellison didn't sit right away. He stood there, fingers resting near his belt, watching Willa like she might leap. She didn't. "Sit," she said. "I'm not here to—" "I didn't ask why. I said sit." He sat. The saloon had gone quiet again. Even Roy's hands hovered above the keys. Unsure, Willa pushed the spoon toward the middle of the table. "Look at it." He didn't. "Look," she said again. He glanced down, stared, jaws tensed. "You see what I see? It's a spoon." "It's not." He shifted in his seat. "You think it's proof?" "I think it's a start." His eyes lingered on the bend. His lips parted, closed again. "You said he wasn't supposed to eat," she said. "That's right. But someone brought him a plate." "I didn't order that." She leaned forward. "Who did?" He shook his head. "We don't know." "You said we." "Who's we?" "The nightmen. The ones keep the cells. Nobody saw who brought it." "Somebody did." "Yeah." She sat back. "Have you ever said his name since then?" The sheriff didn't answer. "Go on," she said. He looked up at her, slow. "Harlan." Her face didn't change, but her hand went tight around her glass. He cleared his throat. "Your father was a hard man. Everyone knew it." "That's not what I asked." He looked back at the spoon. "No, I haven't said his name in years." "Why now?" "You asked." She studied him. "You said he wasn't supposed to eat. You said no food gets sent to the cellar." "That's right." "So who opened the hatch?" "Someone with keys." "Who's got keys?" He hesitated. "Just me and the governor's men." "Which ones?" "The runners and the barn hands." "Names, Sheriff." He rubbed the back of his neck. "There was a boy. Young, not from town. Stayed in the barn a while. Quiet type." "What's his name?" "I don't remember." "You do." He met her eyes. He didn't give it. Just showed up one day, fed the horses, cleaned the troughs, slept in the hay. "And he brought a plate down to my father?" "I saw him once, coming out of jail. Hands were shaking." "You ask him why?" "No." "Why not?" "Didn't want to know." She exhaled slowly. "You're the law." "I was tired." "That's what you're going with?" "Sometimes people don't want answers." "Well, I do." He looked around. The bar was quiet but listening. He dropped his voice. "That barn's got more ghosts than the graveyard." "What barn doesn't?" "This one walks." Willa blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, 3 men who worked there turned up dead. One hanged himself. One drowned in a dry creek. The third vanished. All within months of your father dying." She paused. "And you still never asked about the boy?" "I didn't have to." "Why?" "Because when I opened the cellar the next morning, your father was cold. The spoon was bent. And the boy was gone." "You think he did it?" "I don't know." "You think he was sent?" "I don't know that either." She leaned forward again. "But you know where the food came from." He didn't blink. "Governor's barn." She stared. He added, "No doubt in my mind." She sat back, slow. "Why would the governor want him dead?" "Your father talked too much." "About what?" "He knew things, said things." "Like?" "Like the governor's brother had a ledger full of fake names, like the barn wasn't just for horses." Her voice was soft now. "What was it for?" He looked down. "Rooms." "What kind?" "Locked ones." She stilled. He continued, I went out there once. Years back. I heard screaming. Couldn't prove a thing. And my father. He said he'd seen girls go in, not come out. Her breath caught. He said he was going to tell everyone, start naming names. She swallowed. So they shut him up. The sheriff didn't answer. I want to see the barn. No. I'm going. You go out there, you won't come back. Then you better come with me. He leaned forward, voice hard. You don't get it. That place eats people. So did the jail. So did your silence. I didn't kill him. You didn't stop it either. He stood. You done. Not close. He looked down at the spoon one last time. She said, You saw him suffer. He nodded, just once. You walked away. His voice broke. I had a daughter too. Did. She died the year before. Fever. She said nothing. I went to the jail that night just to get out of the house, just to sit. And I saw the tray. I saw the spoon on the floor. I saw him curled up like a boy. She waited. I should have stopped it. I should have yelled, but I just watched. She stood. You owe him. I know. You owe me. I know that too. She picked up the spoon, slipped it back into her pocket. You got two choices, Sheriff, she said. Which are? Help me find who brought the plate, or bury your badge. He nodded. I'll meet you by the barn tomorrow night. Alone? Yeah. She walked past him toward the door. He called out, Willa. She stopped. He said, If you find him, the boy from the barn, what are you going to do? She didn't turn. Make him tell me, she said, what my father tasted before he died. Then she left. The sheriff sat again. Didn't touch his glass. Roy started playing the same broken tune. The saloon breathed again. Just barely. The jailhouse didn't creak when Willa stepped in. It breathed, a low groan in the rafters, the kind of quiet that carried memory like heat. She moved slowly, boots echoing on the worn planks. Her lantern flickered. The air smelled like dried blood and stale paper. Every window was boarded. Every cell door still hung open, except the one that led down. The cellar. She stood in front of it now, hand resting on the latch. Her fingers didn't shake. Still latched from inside, she whispered. She pushed. It didn't give. She set the lantern down, knelt and pulled a nail from her coat, slid it through the crack, worked the mechanism like she'd practiced all week. Click. The door creaked open. Darkness poured up like smoke. She picked up the lantern and stepped down. The wood groaned beneath her, each stair older than the one before it. At the bottom, the dirt floor drank the light slowly. She turned once, letting the flame trace the walls. There it was, the tray, half buried in dust, slumped beside the cot, rusted edges, a tin cup tipped over, and a spoon, not bent. She knelt beside it, ran her fingers across the metal, still whole. She picked it up, hold it next to the one from her pocket. Same size, same weight, same scratch under the handle, a half letter, looked like an R. She held them both in her palms, one bent from her father's teeth, one untouched. Which one was first, she murmured, and which one killed him? Her eyes shifted to the wall, something scratched into the stone, jagged, desperate, not food, not friends. She ran her thumb over it. Then again, the lantern hissed. She stood, tucked both spoons into her coat, and turned back toward the stairs. At the top, the light from the hallway was dimmer than before. She stepped out into it, closed the cellar door, latched it again from the outside. She didn't want it swinging open. Outside, the wind had picked up. Dirt blew in low curls across the path. She didn't head home. She turned toward the edge of town, toward the barn. It stood still, too still, like it was waiting. The governor's barn hadn't been used in months, not since the governor himself stopped showing his face. They said he was sick. They said he'd gone north. They said a lot of things. Willa didn't knock. She pushed the side door open with her shoulder. Inside, the air was sharp. Old hay and horses are long gone. Tools still hung on the far wall. A few feed bags slumped in the corner, split at the seam. She stepped past the troughs, past the pens, toward the back. Where the doors didn't lead to pasture, they led down. Another hatch. She ran her hand across the beam. Dust lifted in waves. Then, rope, cut short, frayed. She stepped back. A sound behind her. Boots. She turned quickly, hand at her waist. It was him. Sheriff Ellison. You said tomorrow night, she said. He didn't answer. Following me now? You lit the jail from the inside. So? The town saw it. They didn't follow. You shouldn't be here alone. I'm not. You trust me? No. He looked past her. You opened the cellar. She held out both spoons. He took them, turned them over once, twice. He didn't speak. She said, There's only one way someone got down there without being seen. He looked up. Through this barn. Through this hatch, she said. The same rope's still here. He handed the spoons back. I want to know what's under this floor, she said. You won't like it. I didn't like the cellar. He stepped forward, pulled at the hatch. It groaned, but didn't lift. Nailed shut, she asked. Boarded from below. Then someone's still down there. He looked at her. Or was. Are you coming back with a crowbar? He hesitated. I'll bring tools tonight. Number now. He looked around. They'll hear. Then let 'em. You want to die in this barn? I want to know who fed my father. He didn't move. I'm going back to town, she said. You coming? He nodded once. They left together. The barn door stayed open behind them. Just a little. Enough for wind to slip in. Enough for the dust to move. Enough for the echo of a spoon to fall from somewhere beneath the boards and land soft on the earth. Willa waited by the fence line behind the governor's property. The horses were loose in the pasture, their tails swatting at flies. The boy she needed hadn't changed. Still clean boots. Still that smug way of moving, like he owned the dirt he walked on. Elias. He whistled as he walked, chewing something, probably mint. She stepped out from behind the post. He stopped mid-step. Well now, he said. That dress still fits? You remember it? It's hard to forget what twirls. She didn't smile. Where were you the night my father died? He spat the mint out. Straight to it, huh? Where were you? He rubbed the back of his neck. I was in the barn. Which part? The one with hay. Alone? He shrugged. You know how barns are. Things wander in. You see the boy? What boy? The one who fed my father. His eyes didn't change. She stepped closer. The one you let in through the back gate. Now why would I do that? Because you were scared. Of your daddy? Of what he knew. He laughed. He didn't know nothing. He knew about the rooms under the barn. He looked past her, toward the trough. Ain't no rooms. She reached into her coat, took out the spoon. Not the bent one, the clean one. His smile faltered. Have you ever seen one like this? She asked. Looks like jailhouse tin. It is. Where'd you find it? In the cellar. He frowned. They let you in there. I let myself. He watched her now, more careful. She said, there was a tray, a cup, this spoon. No food left, just scratches. He said nothing. You know what was written on the wall? Still nothing. Not food, not friend. His jaw tightened. You brought the boy. He brought the food. You stayed quiet. I didn't bring any boy. You remember the cook? He blinked. She pressed. Big man, beard, always humming. He shifted. Lot of cooks passed through. This one was named Marlowe. He flinched. You do remember. I remember he left. When? A few days after your father passed. She stared. He didn't just leave. I don't know where he went. You sent him. No. Then who did? He stepped back. I don't have to answer you. No, she said. But you will. Why would I? She leaned in. Because I'll bring the other spoon next time. The bent one. I'll show it to the men who drink at your father's table, and I'll ask them who was on shift that night. His voice dropped. You're digging a hole you won't climb out of. She smiled faintly. Then I'll dig it wider. They stared at each other. He said, Marlowe didn't act alone. Who helped? He looked away. Ask Agnes. Agnes. She was the girl who fed prisoners. Years back. Maybe it still does. Where is she? Behind the chapel. Willa narrowed her eyes. The wash house. Yeah. She's still working? Some folk never leave. What did she see? He didn't answer. What did she see? She repeated. She saw enough. And she kept scrubbing. He stepped around her. She didn't stop him, only said, If I find out you knew what was in that plate, you'll what? I'll make you eat it. He left without another word. The horses scattered as he passed. Willa turned toward town. The chapel sat at the far edge of the cemetery. Its paint had peeled off years ago. The bell didn't ring anymore. Behind it, the wash house leaned crooked. The roof caved on one side. A thin string of smoke drifted from the chimney. Willa stepped inside. Steam clung to the windows. Rows of linens hung like ghosts. The floor was damp. The air smelled of lye and old milk. At the back, hunched over a basin, stood a woman, hands submerged in water, scrubbing something dark from a white sheet. "Agnes," Willa said. The woman didn't turn. "You worked at the jail?" Silence. "You fed the prisoners?" Still nothing. Willa walked closer. "You fed my father." Agnes kept scrubbing. "I know who brought the plate. I just don't know what was in it." Agnes scrubbed harder. "Marlowe made it?" Agnes flinched. "You watched him." No answer. "He told you what?" "He put in it." Agnes's hand slowed. "I found the spoon," Willa said, "and I found what my father wrote on the wall." Agnes whispered, "He knew it was coming." "You heard him say that?" Agnes nodded. "What else did he say?" She finally turned. Her face was sunken, eyes red. She looked tired of being alive. Agnes said, "He didn't cry." Willa nodded. "He said, 'Tell my girl I wasn't hungry.'" Willa swallowed hard. "You told him not to eat it?" "I didn't speak." "Why not?" "I needed to keep my job." "What did Marlowe put in it?" "Something thick, white, stirred into the stew." "You didn't stop him?" "I turned my back." Willa stepped forward. "Why?" Agnes looked at her. "Because he told me if I warned anyone, I'd be next." "Was he the only one?" Agnes shook her head. "No one works alone in that barn." Willa took a breath. "You gonna name 'em?" Agnes dropped her head. "I named one once. She vanished." Willa whispered, "Your daughter?" Agnes nodded. The sheets behind her dripped slowly. Willa said, "You still scared?" "I'm too tired to be." "Then help me." Agnes looked up. "What do you need?" "Tell me where Marlowe went." Agnes hesitated. "He came here once, 2 winters ago. Said he was head cook for the new stables up north." "What did he want?" "To see if I was still alive." "Was he alone?" Agnes looked away. "He said he wasn't." Willa stepped back. "If I find him, you'll need more than a spoon." Willa nodded. "Did you get anything better?" Agnes reached into the wash bin, pulled out a thin metal key wrapped in old lace. "He gave me this, said I'd know when to use it." Willa took it. I turned it in her hand. "What does it open?" Agnes said, "Not sure." But he whispered something when he handed it to me. "What?" "Under the barn. The box is in the dark." Willa looked at the key. "Keep your head down," she said. Agnes turned back to the basin. Willa left without a word. Behind her, the sheets swayed like breath. Willa stood at the edge of the washhouse again. She didn't knock. Inside, steam curled along the beams. The windows were fogged. The smell of bleach burned sharp behind her eyes. Agnes was in the same place, hunched at the basin, elbows tucked in, scrubbing a cloth that had already lost its color. Same movement, back and forth, slow, methodical. Willa stepped in, shut the door soft behind her. Agnes didn't turn. Willa stood there a while, watching. The cloth didn't change, but Agnes scrubbed like it might bleed again. "You've been here since sunrise?" Willa asked. No answer. Willa walked up beside the table. "You don't eat." Agnes kept scrubbing. "Don't sleep." Nothing. Willa reached into her coat, set the bent spoon on the wooden counter right beside the basin. Agnes stopped moving. "Was this the one?" Willa asked. Agnes didn't look. "I found it beside the body. Teeth marks are still in the curve." Silence. "You gave it to him?" Agnes shook her head. "Marlowe?" Still no reply. "Then who?" Agnes's voice came like a breath. "He brought it in a tin bowl, said he cooked it himself." "You watched him?" Agnes nodded once. "And you didn't say anything." "I watched him eat it," she said. "And I knew." "Knew what?" "That it was wrong." "You knew it was poison?" Agnes said nothing. "You knew and said nothing." Agnes gripped the cloth again, started scrubbing. Willa grabbed her wrist. Agnes froze. Willa leaned in. "You let him die." "I was told not to speak." "By who?" Agnes looked down. "Doesn't matter." "It does now." Agnes pulled her hand back, picked up the cloth again. Willa slammed her palm on the table. Agnes flinched. Water spilled. "Look at it," Willa snapped. Agnes wouldn't. "You saw the man bring it." Agnes nodded. "Describe him." Agnes wiped her hands on her apron. He wore a badge. What kind? Deputy. Willa blinked. What else? No boots. Willa's mouth parted. Agnes whispered, his feet were bare. I remember the dust on his toes. Willa's stomach turned. No boots, she said again. Agnes nodded. Didn't make a sound coming down the hallway. Willa whispered, the only man barefoot that year was Mama's brother. Agnes looked up now, slowly. Willa said, you're sure? Agnes nodded again. I saw him. I remember his eyes. Why'd he do it? Agnes shook her head. I think he was told to. By who? Agnes just stared. Willa stepped back. She pressed her hand to her chest, steadying her breath. My uncle's been dead a decade. Agnes said, you sure? Willa didn't answer. He was pale, Agnes said, like something inside him had drained out. Does he say anything? He said, he won't feel a thing. Willa's eyes filled, but she didn't blink. My father did feel it. I know. He bent that spoon trying not to scream. I know. Willa stepped to the side wall, leaned her shoulder into the wood. You saw him die, she said. Agnes nodded. You saw the badge. Yes. You stayed quiet. Agnes's voice cracked. I was 17. That doesn't buy forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. Willa stared at the floor. You still got the lace key? Agnes pointed to a drawer. Willa opened it, pulled the key out. Metal cold, still wrapped in lace, now stiff from age. What did he say it opened? Box under the barn. Have you ever gone back? Agnes shook her head. I couldn't. Can you now? No. Why not? I don't think it's there anymore. What is? Agnes's voice dropped. Something buried. What kind of something? The kind people kill to keep quiet. Willa tucked the key back in her coat. Agnes turned back to the basin. Willa took the bent spoon, slid it back in her pocket. She said, you know what I'm going to do? Agnes didn't respond. I'm going to dig. Agnes whispered, then take a second shovel. Willa paused at the door. Why? Agnes didn't look up. In case you don't make it out. Willa left. The wind outside stung. The door swung once behind her. Inside, Agnes scrubbed again. Same patch. Still hadn't blinked. Moved slowly, her fingers trailing across the glass jars, checking the labels. Peaches, lard, beans, 2 with nothing on them. She reached the back wall. A single jar sat near the bottom, tucked behind a sack of flour. Label read, pickled okra. But the jar was too small. The lid newer than the rest. She picked it up, swirled the contents once. Not okra. Metal. She twisted the lid. The vinegar slapped her nose. Inside floated a deputy's badge. Tarnished, rusted around the star. A smear of dried red stuck to the bottom of the pin. Not rust. Blood. She didn't breathe for a moment. She lifted it out, holding it with the tips of her fingers. The back was etched faintly. Letters worn from age. F.H. Finch. Her mother's brother. Dead, they said. Gone, they whispered. But someone had sealed this badge in brine and tucked it behind beans and sugar. She turned. Old Maybelle stood in the doorway, arms crossed. You been rootin' in my jars. Willa held up the badge. You picklin' deputies now. Maybelle didn't smile. You knew this was here. Maybelle nodded once. You put it there. Someone had to. Why? Maybelle walked in, slow. He came in bleeding, hand wrapped in his shirt. When? Night after your father died. You saw him. He was shaking, said he had to hide something before they found him. So you gave him a jar? I gave him a choice, ground or glass. Willa stared. Maybelle looked down. He said it wouldn't be safe for him. Said the blood wouldn't wash. Willa lowered the badge. Did he say anything else? Said he wasn't the one that cooked it. He brought it. Yeah. But he didn't stir it. No. He tells you who did it? Maybelle paused. He said there was a room under the barn, locked from both sides, only open for one thing. What thing? A tray. Willa leaned against the shelf. Maybelle added, he said the tray had to be carried barefoot. No sound. I know. Maybelle studied her. You look like your mama when you're mad. Does she know what he did? She knew enough to stop asking. He loved her. Loved her wrong. Willa stared at the jar. Why didn't you tell me? You were a girl. I'm not now. Maybelle nodded. That's why I didn't stop you. Willa held up the badge. You know what this proves? No one's ever really gone. No, Willa said. That ghost's bleed too. She walked past her. Maybelle said, You gonna keep it? For now. You digging something up? I already did. Maybelle followed her out to the front. Have you ever asked the sheriff what your uncle said before he left? Willa turned. Did you? He said, I done what was asked. Asked by who? He wouldn't say. Someone high. Someone scared. Willa stared toward the bar. He didn't run. Number just vanished. Left the badge here. He said you'd come looking one day. Willa nodded. He was right. She slipped the badge in her coat. Maybelle asked, You scared? Willa said, I don't get scared anymore. Liar. Willa looked her in the eyes. Yeah. She stepped outside. The wind had picked up. The streets were quiet. Shops closed. Willa looked at the badge once more before tucking it deep. She didn't cry, didn't breathe deep, just walked toward the barn, toward the next name. The ground near the creek stayed soft, even in drought. Willa walked the edge, one hand brushing through the tall grass. Her boots sunk a little with each step. She didn't mind. She liked the drag, made her feel like the land remembered. The two crosses stood where they always had. Her father's first, then Mama's. Plain wood, crooked from years of wind. But now there was a third, set a few feet behind. Cleaner, taller, white paint is still wet near the base. Willa knelt in front of it. No name, just a phrase burned into the wood. Forgive me. She stared at it. Her breath didn't change. She heard footsteps behind her. The preacher cleared his throat. Didn't expect to see you this early. I couldn't sleep. He nodded, quiet. She didn't turn. You paint this? No. Then who? He stepped closer. Your uncle. She turned now. He kept his hands folded. Finch. He's dead. He came back. When? 2 nights ago. Where? Here. I walked straight from the road. Said he had something to leave behind. He dug this? Number. He just learned it. Willa looked back at the cross. Does he say anything? Just one thing. What? He said, I'd rather drown than look her in the eye. Willa stood. Does he go to church? The preacher hesitated. He asked if the well still held water. She stared. He walked to it. I followed. I watched him stand there for a long while. You stop him? No. Why? He didn't jump. You sure? I stayed until dawn. Didn't hear a splash. Maybe he waited. Maybe. She looked at the third cross again. Why would he come back? Because guilt doesn't stay buried. She knelt beside her father's grave, pressed her palm against the dirt. He was here the night Papa died. I know. He wore the badge. I know. He brought the food. The preacher didn't answer. She looked up. Have you ever talked to him after? Not till the night he came back. What did he look like? Thin, pale, eyes like they forgot how to sleep. Does he leave anything else? Just the words. Willa stood. Is he hiding somewhere? If he is, it ain't here. I'm gonna check that well. I already did. And it's dry. Then where'd he go? The preacher looked at the trees. Where all cowards go. Between places. She walked past him. He followed. Are you going after him? I'm going to the barn. What for? To see if anything under it's still breathing. You think he left you something? I think he wanted to be found. The preacher said. He was crying. Willa stopped. When he learned that cross, he said, he was shaking. He looked toward your mama's grave and mouthed something. What? I couldn't hear. Guess that's between them. You still carry the spoon? She touched her coat. Both of them. Are you planning to use them? Depends who I find. He stepped back. You sure you're ready for what's under that barn? No? Then why go? Because he came back. And that means something's about to end. The preacher didn't speak. She walked down the path, slow. He called out, You ever wonder why he wore no boots? She stopped. He said, He told me. Said if he could feel the dirt, maybe he'd stay human. She didn't turn. Said the badge made his feet heavy. The preacher added, But bare souls meant he remembered where he came from. Willa whispered, He didn't come back for me. No. He came back for her. Yes. She looked over her shoulder and left the rest for me to clean. The preacher said nothing. She reached the edge of the creek, dipped her hand in. The water was cold. She turned, looked back at all 3 crosses, her father's, her mother's, and the third, still standing, still waiting. The rope bit into her palms. Willa gritted her teeth and slid down slowly, boots scraping stone. The well walls closed around her like a throat. Dry moss flaked off as she passed. The lantern swung from her belt, casting shaky light. She didn't look down until she touched earth. The bottom smelled like copper and cold dust. No water, no echo, just silence. She crouched, scanned the ground. Her fingers landed on fabric first, thick, rough, canvas. A coat. She lifted it, stiff with age, heavier than it should have been. She opened it flat against the well floor. The sleeves hung limp, inside the lining stitching. Not clean, sloppy, rushed. She ran her thumb under the seam. Something crackled. She pulled. A folded bundle of paper slipped free, tied with a thin leather cord. She undid it slowly. 6 letters, yellowed, 5 sealed, 1 open. Her name scrawled on the outside. She crouched lower, holding the lantern close. The writing shook across the page. Willa, I did what they told me. But I didn't cook it. I just brought it. That was all. She turned the page over. Nothing on the back. She opened the next letter. No name on it, but halfway down the page, she read a sentence that stopped her cold. I know I'll burn for what I did. But he was already marked. The governor signed it himself. She put that one aside. Next one addressed to the sheriff. She kept reading. Ellison, I'm not sorry for leaving. I'm only sorry I didn't speak. You knew. You watched me. And you did less than I did. You don't get to carry clean hands. Let this letter carry blood instead. F.H. Underneath, a small red smear. Dried into the paper. Willa folded it back, slipped it into her coat. She pressed her hand against the stone wall of the well. It felt warmer than the air around her. She whispered, You knew I'd come down here. The coat lay still beside her. She ran her fingers through the inner pocket. Something metal clinked. She pulled it out. A spoon. Bent. She stared at it. Same size, same curve, same scar along the handle. But this one was different. The initials etched into the underside. W.H., her father's. She blinked hard. So Finch had kept it, carried it all this time, buried it under stone, not to lose it, to leave it. Willa pressed it against her palm, felt the curve, the bite marks, the weight. She tucked it beside the letters, tied the coat sleeves in a knot, and slung it over her shoulder. She reached for the rope, climbed slowly. The air thinned near the top. She pushed the wooden cover open and pulled herself out, chest heaving. The churchyard was quiet. She lay flat for a second, dirt in her teeth, nails split from the climb. Then she stood. She looked back into the well. Still no sound. Still no echo. She whispered, Thank you for leaving it. A voice behind her. You found what you were looking for? She turned. The sheriff leaned against the tree. More than I wanted, she said. You come out of there quietly. So did he. You read it? Yeah. He named me. Willa reached into her coat, handed him the folded letter. He read it without blinking. When he was done, he folded it again, slipped it in his pocket. I should burn it, he said. You won't. No. They stood in silence. He asked, You believe him? He didn't cook it. No. He brought it, though. Yeah. She said, He carried a spoon with Papa's name on it. The sheriff looked away. She added, He bent one, too. Just like mine. The sheriff said, Why hide it? To show me later. Why not hand it to you? Because I wasn't ready. You ready now? She nodded. I'm tired of guessing. You gonna tell the town? Not yet. He nodded slowly. I need one more thing, she said. What's that? The governor's signature. The sheriff stared. You think he ordered it? I know he did. You got proof. She held up the coat. It's stitched into this. He said, You think you'll make it to him? I'm not asking permission. You gonna shoot him? No. You sure? She looked down. No. He said, You're your father's girl. She turned. Number I'm my mother's. Then she walked, coat heavy, fingers raw, letters against her chest. The spoon is still warm. Willa walked in without a word. Maybelle looked up from the bar, her rag pausing mid-wipe. The piano stopped. Conversation died fast. Folks turned in their seats but said nothing. She reached the bar, set down two things: the bent spoon, the clean one. No one touched them. Maybelle stepped forward. "You want a drink?" Willa didn't answer. Maybelle's eyes flicked down to the spoons. "What's your message?" Willa said. "That's what he left me." "You sure you want to do this here?" "I ain't doing it for you." Willa turned. I walked to the pantry door, unlatched it. Inside, the air smelled like damp sugar and rotted peaches. She stepped in. I looked around once, found the old kerosene tin behind the sacks. She carried it out slowly. Someone muttered, "What the hell?" Willa didn't stop. She poured it steadily along the pantry wall, let it soak into the grain. Maybelle's voice cracked. "Willa, don't." She struck a match. "Hold it to the soaked wood." It caught on fast. Oranges bloom. Smoke rolled upward. Maybelle screamed. "You went crazy?" Willa stepped back. The flames crawled up, licking toward the ceiling. The saloon emptied fast. Boots scuffed. Bottles dropped. Voices shouting. Maybelle tried to go in. Willa blocked her. "You knew what was in there." "I kept it quiet." "Exactly." The fire grew louder. Then came Boots across the front porch. The sheriff pushed through the swinging doors, saw the smoke, stopped. Then I saw Willa, saw the two spoons, saw the look in her eyes. He walked to her, calm. "You lit it." She nodded. He didn't reach for his gun. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her coat. "Hold it out." He took it, read it slowly. The letter from Finch. The blood mark. He folded it, slipped it into his pocket. Didn't blink. He said, "He wasn't the only one who brought that plate." "I know." "You still want names?" "Only one." The fire cracked behind her. Maybelle sobbed against the wall. The sheriff looked around. "The place is going to fall in 5 minutes. I only need one." He lowered his voice. "Are you sure you want this?" "I'm past want." He reached into his coat, pulled out a small envelope, handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "The governor's dinner list." "From that night?" "Yeah." "Why are you carrying it?" "Because I knew you'd come looking." She opened it. 10 names. One underlined. She looked up. "Elias?" The sheriff nodded. "He ordered it. Finch delivered it." "Who stirred it?" "I don't know." "You do." "I don't." She stared hard. He looked away. "He left town yesterday. Gone east. The governor signed the papers himself." "He won't get far." "Doesn't matter." She looked back at the flames. "Fire's eating it all." "Maybe that's the point." She picked up both spoons from the bar. "Hold one in each hand." "Are you arresting me?" "No." "You gonna stop me?" "No." "Are you ever gonna speak his name again?" "I just did." She handed him the bent spoon. "Hold it," she said. He did. "Feel it?" He nodded. "Now carry it." He looked confused. She said, "Carry it like I did. For 10 years." He tucked it in his coat. She turned. I walked toward the doors. The saloon behind her hissed with flame. She didn't look back. Outside, the town gathered, faces in shock, smoke curling into the sky. She walked past them all, toward the barn, toward the name at the bottom of the list. Willa saw it before she reached the chapel steps, a folded quilt, neatly placed on the stone. No note, no name, just a piece of cloth too clean for the dust around it. She looked up at the door, closed, no candlelight inside. She crouched, ran her hand across the stitching, blue and ash-gray squares, old fabric, some fraying at the seams. She picked it up, hold it to her face. Agnes's scent still clung, soap, smoke, time. The chapel door creaked. The preacher stood in the doorway. "She's gone," he said. "When?" "Before sunrise." "Peaceful?" She didn't stir. Willa nodded. "She left that?" she asked. He stepped forward. "Set it down just after supper. Sit with it for a while." "Say anything?" "No." "She knows." He hesitated. She said, "I stitched what I couldn't say." Then went inside, laid down, never got back up. Willa stood with the quilt pressed to her chest. She walked past him into the chapel. Agnes's body lay on the pew, covered with a sheet. Willa looked once, then sat on the floor, unfolded the quilt. One seam ran odd, tight, too tight. She picked at it with her nails. The thread gave. Inside the lining metal, she pulled it free. A tin badge, deputy's star, worn, bent slightly, edge stained dark red. She turned it over. Engraved letters barely visible. E. Ellison. She didn't move. She heard the preacher step in behind her. You understand what that means? She nodded. He gave it to her. I know. When? Back then. You sure? She didn't stitch a lie. He sat beside her. She carried it all this time, he said. She didn't know where to bury it. Willa held it in her palm. He was there, with Finch, with Marlowe. He said he didn't cook it. He didn't, but he let it happen. Willa closed her hand around the badge. He watched. You gonna confront him? I already did. You gonna tell him you found this? No. Why not? Because he already knows. They sat in silence for a while. Then Willa stood. Let her rest, the preacher said. She already is. Willa folded the quilt again, tucked it under her arm. She walked outside. The air had turned sharp, wind stirring dust in slow spirals. She made it halfway down the path before she saw him. The sheriff, standing still, waiting. She stopped in front of him. You saw her? He asked. She left it for me. You opened it? Yes. He nodded. You remember giving it to her? She asked. I do. Why? I couldn't carry it anymore. You could have confessed. No one would have listened. I would have. He looked away. Not then. She held the badge out. He didn't take it. She believed in you, Willa said. She shouldn't have. She stitched this into something meant to keep someone warm. He nodded. She buried your guilt in cotton. He swallowed hard. I didn't think she'd keep it. She kept everything. He met her eyes. You gonna tell the town? I don't need to. They'll find out. They already have. He looked down at the badge again. That blood's not dried. No. He stepped back. You need me to hang? No. You sure? Not yet, he said. I should have stopped it. I know. I should have burned the list. Too late, he said. I was scared. I still am. He looked at her. What do you want me to do? She placed the badge in his hand. Carry it, she said. He stared at it. Not in your coat, she said. Out front. For how long? Till someone spits on it. He nodded. She turned. He called out. He was my friend, Willa. She didn't turn back. You know what that means? He asked. She said, means you betrayed him slowly. And then she walked toward the barn, toward the box in the dark. The sheriff's office door creaked when Willa opened it. He was already seated behind the desk. Hats off, spoon in front of him. Bent one. Turned slightly to the right, like someone had just set it down. He didn't look up. Willa stepped in, shut the door behind her. Didn't lock it. You waited, she said. He nodded. Didn't figure on running. Didn't figure you'd stay either. He tapped the spoon once. You carry the other one? Not anymore. He looked at her then. She stayed standing. You bring a weapon? He asked. No. You want mine? No. He reached for his belt, unbuckled the holster slowly, set it on the table beside the spoon. She stared at both. He said, I read the last letter. Finch's? Yeah. She waited. He was right. He was slow. I know. You could have stopped it. I could have. Why didn't you? He looked down. I thought the governor's men would hang me next. So you picked silence. I picked survival. Same thing. He nodded once. She stepped closer. You watched him eat it. I watched him die. You watched Finch walk away. I did. And Marlowe? Didn't see him. You heard him, though. From the barn, heard him laughing. She clenched her jaw. He said, they fed him something thick. Said it'd work fast. And it did. Too fast for screaming. But not fast enough to stop him writing. No. She pointed at the spoon. He bit down on that. I know. You kept it. I found it under the cot. Why keep it? Because it bent. Does that mean something to you? Meant he didn't go easy. Willa sat down. They looked at each other. She said, Agnes stitched your badge into a quilt. I know. She kept it clean. She always did. She forgave you. She shouldn't have. I won't. He nodded. I don't expect it. She stared. You let my father take the fall? I did. You let me grow up without truth? I did. She leaned forward. Say his name. Harlan West. Say what you did. I watched Harlan West die slowly and said nothing. She didn't move. He said, I let the others make the choice. I stayed quiet. That made me part of it. She whispered, all this time. I carried it. Not enough. I know. She stood again. I walked behind the desk. He didn't flinch. She picked up the spoon. Hold it for a second, then placed it in his open palm. Carry it. I already did. Now dig with it. He blinked. You want redemption? She asked. No. Then I'll make it simple. She stepped back. Go behind the jail, she said. Pick a spot. Dig until your hands bleed. For who? Not my papa. Then who? You. He looked down at the spoon. It won't hold up. That's the point. She turned toward the door. Willa. She paused. He said, tell him why I didn't stop it. She said, I will. Then she left. Didn't slam the door. Didn't look back. Outside, the wind had stilled. She walked past the church, past the graveyard, toward the barn, toward the place it started, and the place it would end. Behind her, the sheriff picked up the holster, opened the drawer, set it inside, then walked out the back, toward the shovel rack, toward the dirt, toward the cost of silence. The town stood still. No church bells, no laughter from the saloon, no boots clapping against wooden boards. They gathered by the sycamore tree behind the jailhouse. The wind barely stirred, just enough to shift a few loose leaves along the packed dirt. Willa stood alone in front of the hole, shovel in one hand, spoon in the other, not the bent one, not the clean one. This one came from her father's coat, etched initials, worn steel, bite marks left like fingerprints. She stared at the dirt. Someone behind her whispered, she's really gonna do it. No one replied. The sheriff stood farther back, badge gone, hands bare. His shirt clung damp to his shoulders, dirt under his nails, face blank. Willa crouched, set the spoon down in the hole. Next to it, she laid the badge, the one stitched into Agnes's quilt, the one that still smelled of lye and smoke. She didn't speak, didn't look around. She started to fill the hole, small scoops, pressing the dirt down with her palms. A woman stepped forward. You sure you don't want help? Willa didn't answer. Another voice, an older man, said, we should say something. Still nothing. The preacher stepped through the crowd, removed his hat. He opened his mouth. Willa looked up. Don't, she said. He froze. She kept going. Spoon, badge, dirt. The shovel lay off to the side now, forgotten. Someone said, that ain't how things end. Willa stood, turned to face them. This ain't an end, she said, then turned back around and pressed the final layer of dirt with the heel of her boot. The spoon was gone. The town stayed quiet. She looked at the sheriff. He nodded once. She looked at the preacher. He lowered his head. She looked at no one else, then walked through the crowd, past the chapel, past the general store, back toward the edge of town. She didn't carry anything with her. Not a letter, not a name, just what was left under the dirt. The governor's house sat empty now, curtains drawn, windows dusty. Elias had left before dawn. No carriage, no goodbyes, just a boy running with the name of a man. Willa had seen his boot prints in the dry road, one deeper than the other, like he was limping. She didn't follow, didn't need to. The sheriff sat outside his own home, same rocking chair, same glass of untouched water. Willa walked past him. He spoke. I expected a gun. She paused. I buried it. He nodded. You sure? No. You think I belong in that hole? I think you dug it. He didn't move. She asked, you want to say sorry again? No. Good. She kept walking. He called out, you done now? She didn't stop. Willa. She turned. He said, you know there's still folks who don't believe it. I'm not here to convince them. He stood. So what now? You still got a shovel? Yeah. Keep it close. He sat back down, rocked slow, didn't speak again. The graves by the creek were still there. She visited them before sunset. Every day, her mother's name carved faint in the wood. Her father's faded almost entirely. The third cross leaned to the side now, still said the same thing. Forgive me. She didn't touch it, didn't straighten it. She just stood there, watching, remembering what wasn't buried with them. Letters, names, screams, the kind that live in bones, the kind that echo in wells. She sat on the grass and ran her hands through the roots. The dirt was soft, damp. She whispered, it's done. No reply. She leaned back on her elbows, watched the sky, didn't cry, didn't smile. She stayed like that till the sun dipped below the trees, then got up, walked the same path back through the hollow field, no torch, no gun, just the sound of her boots on earth that finally didn't try to hold her down. The barn loomed at the edge of the horizon. She hadn't gone back since the fire at the saloon, hadn't dared. Now it waited, quiet, hinges still broken, side door still half-caved. Willa stepped inside. The smell of old hay and rust had returned. No horses, just the silence of something left unfinished. She moved to the back. The hatch in the floor sat where it always had. She dropped to one knee, pulled out the key Agnes had given her. It slid in, clicked. The latch popped. She opened the door. Dark below. No sound. She climbed down slow, hand on the wall, lantern swinging from her belt. When her boots hit the floor, she turned in a slow circle. Nothing moved, just stone. Boxes stacked along the walls. She opened the first. Old plates, tin spoons, stained napkins. She opened another. Badges. Rows of them. Some bent, some clean. Some still had names scratched on the back. She ran her fingers along one. T. Wyatt. Another, M. Harlan. And one more, E. Ellison. She whispered. He kept them. She opened the last box. Letters, stacks, sealed with wax. She picked up one. The seal was broken. Inside, a ledger, signed names, signed orders, each followed by one word, removed. She closed the book, set it down, turned to the far corner. One last thing. A single chair. Wood, small, shackled at the feet. She stepped closer, saw the initials carved into the seat. W.H. Her father. She reached out, touched the worn edge. She didn't shake, didn't flinch. She just stood there, breathing. She pulled the bent spoon from her coat, the one she'd carried all these years, and laid it on the chair. Then turned, walked out, climbed the ladder, shut the hatch behind her. Outside, the wind picked up. She watched the fields bend, heard the rustle of dry grass. She walked back toward town. The sheriff stood at the edge of the road, waiting. "You find what you needed?" he asked. "No." "But you stopped looking." She nodded. He said, "I buried the shovel." "Good. Wasn't mine anyway." She turned her head slightly. "Whose was it?" "Maybe it was always yours." She didn't reply. He said, "They'll talk about you now." "They already did. They'll call it justice. They can call it what they want. You ever gonna forget? News. You gonna let it go?" "Not today." He nodded once. "You want a ride?" "I got feet." He stepped aside, let her pass. She walked slow, hands loose at her sides, back to the graves, back to the creek, back to silence. No one followed. And when the wind shifted, it didn't carry her scent. It carried the dirt, the kind that knows every name buried in it, and the weight of a single bent spoon.